I always feel that a creator, a painter or a sculptor, whatever he does not work for other painters or sculptors. He works for those who do not paint. And they should accept him because they have no choice in the matter. What are seem to be the tricks of today will be the truths of tomorrow. How do you become successful? It's easy, I suggest be yourself, and you will be original. I'm interested in the differences between people, not the similarities.
Bonsoir Paris. Ça va? Ça va bien? Yeah? Oui? Yeah, right. Okay, now that we've exhausted my French, I want to welcome you all on behalf of Lightrix, LTXV, LTXV by Lightrix, and banodoco, and the whole banodoco community, if I may say so, to this very, very first ADOS event in a beautiful Paris, in a beautiful artifacts lab in Paris. Yeah, exactly. That's a reaction I expected. I wrote down, wait for applause. All right, tonight I'm really, really excited. I can't see any of you because of the lights, but I'm trying to make eye contact. I'm super, super excited for the lineup that we have today because I think lots of you guys know each other from Discord, and I always think it's just so wild to meet each other. And we have some amazing people, just like some people that I just absolutely admire from the Discord, like since like last, like how long does it take? Like how long do we have it? Like 2 years? And yeah, we have some artists, we have some tech people, we have some CEOs and founders. Yes, please. We have, I'm just gonna list them up for you just so you don't get too excited when it happens. We have Emma Catnip, we have Araminta Karlsson, we have Vika Betson, we have Ivan Barau as artists. We have for tech presenters Peter O'Malley, our founding father of the banodoco community. We have Ophir Bibi from Lightrix. We have, yes. We have Christian Zandor. We have, yes, give it up. And we have also a panel, which I'm extremely excited for, because for one, someone I just got to know, but I already really, really like and I find extremely endearing and charming, a young filmmaker named Mel Masadian, and he's going to host it. And it's going to be a discussion between the CEO, he is here tonight, of Lightrix, CEO of Lightrix, Ziv Frobman, I'm sorry, I'm very nervous, Also with, of course, our founding father of banodoco, Peter O'Malley. With Emma Catnip, the Emma fucking Catnip. Can we give it up? Thank you. And Polly Passos from Hugging Face. That is right. I also want to just thank for all you guys just showing up here. It's just so amazing to just see this fucking setup. Can I curse? Yes. Yeah, I'm sorry. It's being live streamed, so I'm not really sure. Is it okay? Okay. I'm just so fucking excited for all of you to be here and the kind of people to see here, because we just started a couple of years ago, just gathering you nerds from the internet. I'm sorry, I personally think nerd is a very great compliment. And just share from the open source community videos and things that we make. And it was the very, very beginning of AI and art, and just to see all of you here and just know all of your art, and the effort that you made for this space is really mind-blowing, and I think you should be really, really amazed by yourselves as well. And with no further ado, I want to present our first artist. We're gonna start off with some art. And I've been thinking about how to present this artist, because I don't want to be too much. But before I got to learn, or before I learned about this artist, I made art art with AI and videos with AI myself for a little bit, and I started to feel really confident. And then I saw her work and her stuff, and it was as humbling as it was just mesmerizing. And I just knew there's a very long road ahead of mine, but it's just amazing to have just a person who just shows the road, and also from the way that the path that she has behind her, and also being a woman. I'm sorry, that's just also really cool. Yeah, anyway, give it up for Emma Catnip!
Oh, the precious clicker. Thanks very much, Hannah, for a stellar intro. I'm really nervous, everybody. I'm usually in the darkness when I'm on stage, with everyone looking on the screen and saying, please, no lights on me, so bear with me. And thanks very much to our brilliant hosts for having us and putting on this event. It's supremely strange to see some of your faces. But yes, okay. I am Emma Catnip. I'm a music producer and a visual artist who has basically procrastinated my way by not finishing an album into a new career of an AI animator. And I started in about late 2021 when it was VQGAN business and the Pity Notebook, if anybody played with that, Disco Diffusion. I think I'm going to show you this film because it was my first bit of success, and it's kind of funny to see it now because it's so, oh my goodness, the flickering, that damn flickering. But just to prove how far we've come, so let's hope this works, Hannah. There. Thanks, guys. And just to prove a point, I'll put the next one on, which was made a year later. Considerably different aesthetics and less flickery. So that's good. So that was me, basically. I started learning Pity. I came across one day doom scrolling after like the pandemic in late 2021. You know, it was just sort of wrapping up a little bit, and I saw this thing, and I knew it was some kind of rotoscoping, but I'd never seen anything like it before, and I was like, how? What is that? And I need to do it. And I found out what it was. I opened a Google Colab notebook. I'd never seen one before in my life, and I sort of pressed start, and terrible things happened. It was an absolute mess. And I wrote to the guy, Sports Racer, no idea what his real name is, and he explained to me a little how it worked, and I was hooked. But things went wrong, so I realized pretty quickly I'd have to get up to speed and learn a little bit of Python. So I did a quick Python course, because problem solving, as we all know, is quite a massive thing in this environment. And then I made Under the Sea, which you just watched, and it had a little bit of success over Twitter, and caused some interesting comments as well. So it got the attention of a Disney animator and executive who said, "This is beautiful but terrifying," and it got the attention of a Pixar director who on the same thread said, "This is brilliant. How do I do it?" Which I thought was a funny sort of opposing views from Disney and Pixar. And so, yeah, it's oh, sorry, I've just lost my train of thought. It's so crazy. You know, when we think like how far we've come now in 2025 to then, and the fact that industry is now, rather than shunning this tech, is actually really adopting it. And I guess my story kind of proves that. So after the Under the Sea video went viral, I was lucky enough to be picked up by some agents. And, agents in like early April 2022. Nomen, and funnily enough, Jungler, who are located in Paris. So that's kind of a nice little connect. And since then, I've been working professionally as an AI animator. And I'm just going to run this video in the background to show sort of an example. I work in commercial animation, I work doing private commissions, and I also work as a visual artist. And so I've been the creative director for Plaid for the last 2.5 years, and we've toured crazy AI work and visuals all around the world, twice around different directions. We played at the Sydney Opera House and in Japan, and a small American tour, and it's just been met with like overwhelming support, really. And the tour with Plaid and the whole creative direction, it's changed shape so many times over the last couple of years. For example, the album cover was made with disco diffusion, I think, and we made a graphic novel off the back of that, which infused loads and loads of different kind of techniques. Stable Diffusion had just dropped. I was in an OpenAI beta, and the graphic novel, we thought we'd have a go and send it to Congress and try and get a copyright for it. And it took ages, it took bloody ages, but I think about 6 months onwards, we got the copyright. I'll show you the cover because it's classic disco diffusion from the days. And yeah, so, and then on the tour, we ended up updating the show so many times. So I think I've got some clips of that. Like, so the first show kind of looked like this, which again is quite disco-y, stable diffusion. And then I updated it a second time. Ooh. There we go. Oh, that one goes round the other way. And then finally, I think this is... I'll let this one run for a little while as I speak. Okay, sorry, bear with me. So yeah, the technology has just evolved beyond belief. I mean, it just blows my mind every day, really, that I'm working with it, and I am working with it pretty much every day as well. I mean, I love to break the rules with this AI tool, you know, because there aren't really any rules, but there are some fun things you can do, like with I made the Bloom video, which I'm sure most of you will be familiar with. I'll play that and. So Bloom got me quite a lot of nice attention over last year as well. Let's just find this bit. The reason I chose to show this is because it sort of represents breaking technical rules for artistic results, you know, pushing the boundaries with AI, which I kind of love, and the brokenness of the effects you can get. Some people kind of wrote to me about this video, and they said it reminded them of the old Tolkien Lord of the Rings film and things like that. I was really playing with this video because I had a lot of time after just kind of finishing the tours with Plaid, and I was processing these, because it's video to video, obviously. I was processing these things, and I've mentioned before that this is such a funny one because I sort of push levels up to where they're usually completely unacceptable, like a CFG of 14.5 and crazy stuff like that. But every time I kind of tried to strip it back and like, oh no, that's not how it should be, kind of thing, then it just lost so much, you know. So I think it's just, we're in this beautiful place where things like, well, I used Hotshot XL for this, and it kind of behaves like a naughty child. Those of you who use it will know that. And but when it does work, it just works so nicely. And I think the visual rhythm in Bloom was kind of influenced by my musical background, and the music was made in Suno as well. And I just kind of had this, can I make the feeling of the summer that I've never experienced, that sort of summer of love time? And that was the result. And then current projects, I suppose I can speak about. I recently completed a project for a AI, that's not me, is it? An AI-centric, what are they doing? It was quite hard because I don't really understand entirely what they were doing, but they're making like a guardian for AI agents. And they came at me with this kind of passion project, not a massive budget, and very little script, and kind of wanted something done in a week. And I'm a bit of a sucker, and I kind of like the challenge, so I thought I'd take it on. And again, it just, in another 6 months' time, we're always chasing the elusive character consistency, I think. And this was the first time that I felt like, hey, we can do this. You know, we can actually get a consistent character. I'll play you a little bit of it, but I won't play the whole thing. So that's our Blue Wukong. He's a monkey guardian for AI agents. And it was a very challenging project to make in a sort of a week, but it's really amazing to think we can do that in a week, guys. You know, that's extraordinary. And then now at the moment, I've got the great fortune of working with a really forward-thinking company in LA called Asteria, who are they're kind of pulling out the big guns. I know Minta's working with them as well, and they're really great because they're an artist-centric kind of company that sees AI as a way that things can get made. I mean, they're always saying to me that Hollywood isn't making anything, and that they can see how artists and AI can work symbiotically, you know, and that it doesn't have to be like, oh, AI is bad and stealing and so anti. But I've got a lovely project. I'm working with them at the moment. Again, it's about chasing the elusive, consistent character. And I'm making this thing, a 5-part series called Ping. And a brief overview of Ping is, it's basically, there's an ancient algorithm that's harvesting human consciousness through exceptionally well-organized paperwork. And our protagonist cheerfully documents her own digital dissolution in every episode. And I guess one of the fun things I've done for this project, which is kind of outside of the typical AI art of banodoco, but just to show how things are possible with AI, is I built an app to use as a prop because I honestly am that lazy, and I couldn't be fathoming the idea of animating the whole like social media interface that was needed to tell this story. So I'll put this up whilst I'm chatting. It's sort of a bit of a demo for you. I've never made an app before, so the fact that we can even do this nowadays, I just can't believe it, you know. This is my character, Ella, and a lot of her story takes place in the app as it warns her, as her likes go up and down. It's sort of deeply webbed in the psyche. In the first episode, she's called to the face ministry because she has a extreme content warning. So, and yeah, Ella and her app. And some examples of just sort of chasing this character consistency. Hi, Ella. So, what's interesting, well, to me, about Ella, the character, is it's not like it's not a human being driving the animation. It's not a video to video in that sense. She's basically created entirely out of pixels, and the process of just kind of layering up different takes and different stages of her until she reaches this point. I'm using SDXL for this as well. So Anna trained Laura, and yeah, she's I feel so close, you know, because to get this character consistency, we can do so many incredible things with AI. Like, you know, we can make heads explode. I've had incredible fun making Ella's head explode, actually, and growing her cat ears and all of these crazy things. But it's the simple stuff, like, can you just get them to walk through the door, you know? Can you just even the very mundane, boring stuff that conveys so much personality? So it feels a bit like a triumph, you know, because you can tell a lot about a character with just one little eye movement, or a shrug, or you know, schleppy walk, or whatever, you know. She's a bit of a goof, I've got to say, but hopefully you'll get to find out more about her along the way. It's really sort of stretching my ability to balance technical challenges with creative vision. I was talking to a few of you, I know, to say I had such a bad week last week because everything broke, you know. Nodes I didn't even know what they were doing in Comfy was suddenly red. I'm like, I don't even know what you are. How are you so useful? And so there can be some frustration with that, but then when it works and it happens, the feeling is just amazing. So I just really kind of love my job so much. Just to close, I want to say, yeah, you know, people like you and I who are specialing in areas like this, we have a place to. The industry is shifting from fear to adoption. And I believe we're entering a new phase where AI will just become another tool in the creative arsenal. I literally learn a new thing every day, and I can't thank this whole movement and AI for turning my world into a creative and imaginative place again. Just, you know, after the pandemic, it had felt so dark, and then we had this, and we can make it all magical. And it really does feel like magic. I will leave you, I think I'm done, am I? I'm good for time. I'll leave you with this little short I kind of sketched up, which is more like a sort of diary entry of a view that I saw when I was staying in Zurich recently, and I was out on the balcony smoking, sorry if you don't like that, sorry ma'am, and I saw a couple of bicyclists, and I just found them terribly endearing as they went into the tunnel together, making a cacophony of noise and enjoying the reverb. So I shall leave you with my little sketch, and thank you very much for listening to my ramble.
precious.
Give it up for Emma Catnip. This video, when she sent me her slides, I had plenty to do, obviously, for this event, but I watched it like at least 10 times just in a row because I just loved it so much. You're welcome. Next off, I want to present to you a lady to whom I'm also an artist, to whom I'm personally very grateful for, because I think something that I share probably with a lot of you, or a lot of you can empathize with, is the childhood memories of mostly Saturday mornings sitting in front of the TV and watching anime movies, watching Studio Ghibli movies, watching all kinds of anime movies. So when I see artists now, because like there's like a specific style of 90s anime that is just so lovely, and I'm just like so in love with it. Some of you may have noticed I even have a tattoo of no face on my arm. And it's just, you know, like the more the style advanced, like it changed. But this kind of like lady, this artist, like she has like her own style, and she kind of like in her own way brings that back a little bit, and I'm really grateful for that. So please give it up for the amazing Araminta Karlsson. Yes, this one, and this one back. Okay.
Hi. I'm Minta, Araminta K, or Araminta Karlsson online. I'm not super active on Discord, actually. I'm more active on X, but I'm not really active on anything right now because I've been working on a lot of projects. So my passion is illustration and training LoRa models. And to give a little background, because first of all, I really resonated with Emma's background, and it really brought me back to 2022. And what a weird year that was, especially like getting into AI. And I think like a lot of people, when I found AI, I was really depressed. So like suddenly I found this machine that I could put something into, like a word or a picture, and honestly the result wasn't pretty, but it was something. And it made me feel something that I hadn't felt in a while, especially like coming out of the pandemic. And I hadn't been writing and I hadn't been drawing. And I had gone through some really tough shit, like honestly. And so I'm not sure how many people can resonate with that here, but being able to find myself again through creation that allowed me to play in a way that felt very childlike again, and really just like unexplored, was really healing and amazing. And it actually made me a better artist. So I would say in 2022, my illustrations were okay. Not great though, honestly. I wasn't practicing a lot, and actually, when I started training LoRa's in 2022, I started drawing a lot more because it wasn't so much that I didn't want to use work that I found in the space, but there was never like the perfect data set. Honestly, I was always like chasing the perfect data set. And it's so much easier to get the perfect data set if you can draw the perfect data set. So that ended up being like a big part of my own journey. And I also came into it with very little, almost no technical knowledge. Similar to Emma, I like opened up the Last Ben's collab notebook and I was like, what the hell is this? Like, what am I looking at right now? How do I do this? And I think at that point I was using Midjourney a lot, so I was just basically like training data sets built on Midjourney assets. And I ended up calling up my friend who was like someone in the community, and you might know his Discord at Two Dukes, and he was like with Instability, and I think he's with Black Forest now, but I basically was like, explain to me what training is. I need to understand this, because nothing that I'm generating on the model itself looks like what I see in the community. Why does that look so good where what I just generated looks so terrible? And he was like, well, they trained a model. I was like, how do I train a model? Because I can't make something that looks this bad. And he was like, well, and basically, I always have to thank him because he like sat with me on the phone on a snow day over like Discord and walked me through a command line. And it was, thank you. And I also have to thank my creative partner who's also here, Timothy, who built the PC that I used. So it was really a long road to get to here. And, you know, training on 1.5 was a beast. And now when I look back at those trainings and the results, I'm like, wow, this looked groundbreaking in 2022. And when I compare it to what I'm making now, it feels so, it feels worlds away. And the same between XL and Flux. There's this worlds of different. But the biggest change I've seen recently, and this has been in the last few weeks, has really been WAN 2. And that's what I'm going to show today and what I've been exploring a lot in the last few weeks. To me, and in my work, so I work with Asteria, which Emma had mentioned, and really on figuring out how to use AI in like these broader animations on my own projects and working with artists and directors, et cetera. And the first thing I want to say to everyone in this room is Hollywood is watching right now. And not just watching like, ooh, like in a scary way. Like they want to be involved more and more. Like I've met like people who are just like so excited that I would never have expected to be excited. But that being said, the biggest thing for me is advocating for the art, because it's one thing to say, I'm going to train a LoRa model. It's another thing to train a LoRa model so well that the artist who designed that style, the art director, the creative director, the actual like artist looks at it and says, that's mine, that is me, that is my style. And for me, for my work, if it doesn't hit that point, it is not trained. I have not done it. It has failed, because I need an artist not to feel like they're being replaced, but to feel like they're looking, oops, into a mirror. I got very excited just then. And that is achievable but difficult, and very, very difficult with movement and with style transfer. We have all these really amazing style transfer workflows for 1.5 and XL, and all of them use ControlNet to some degree, and ControlNet rips through LoRa models. Absolutely, it just shreds them to pieces. And the more you use ControlNets, the more they do that. And so until WAN 2, I was like, guys, like to the team that I work with, we can use style transfer, but it's not going to be that like perfect, put it in front of the artist and they say, I see myself in that. They're going to see shades of it, but it's not going to hit what we're seeing with Flux or even with some really advanced XL trainings. And then WAN 2 appeared. And I was suddenly like, okay, it works. This works. Style is transferring, like fully transferring. But characters were still a big challenge. And so this exploration I did today, and it's just a short video, I didn't prepare too many examples, but I'm just showing some of the illustrations that I did. I had done a couple of these by hand, but I also included some synthetic data. So this was a generated output from a Flux model that I trained on a set of 15 images These are 2 of the 15 images from before. Also generated from the Flux model, additionally generated from the Flux model. This is my original character, Linnea. And what I really wanted to explore in what I'm showing you today is training a character, Laura, on Wantu that can go through each stage, whether it's text to video, image to video, or video to video, and also showing what that looks like. So what you're going to see, oh, it's not doing the sound. Let's go back. I don't know why it's not doing the sound. I'm gonna try again. All good, we'll just show oh wait, sorry, this one doesn't have sound. That's why. I was like, oh no. And then because it's in the next one. But this is just to show you guys how you can transfer a character with, in this case, text to video. So we can definitely generate text to video. Image to video as well, pretty straightforward. When we get into video to video, that's when it's going to pull more details from the video, and you'll see that in the longer video that I've done. So I basically made like an anime music video, and the takeaway I'm trying to show in it is there are different levels you can use with Wantu. You can definitely do a character, like a consistent character, Laura, but the way that presents is going to range based on the workflow. So I'm just gonna play it, and then I'll talk a little, and then I'll be done.
Come back to me. You don't even have a single regret. You come to me covered in wounds. What do you want me to do about it? Let's go to a place far away, a place no one knows, a place that is outside of this world. I can feel it just by touching you. This is no good, I know. You can't be with me, but it's too late. The demons in me, I'm sorry. The best we can do is to suffer together. Let's go to a place far away, a place no one knows, a place that is outside of this world. I can feel it just by touching you. I'm the cause of your pain, I'm sorry. This is no good, I know. You can't be with me, but it's too late. The demons in me, I'm sorry. The best we can do is to suffer together.
So what you just saw was a mix of the 3 different techniques. And I think that the image to video and the text to video are a bit indistinguishable from one another. They both pull the character through really clearly, but the parts where the characterization, like the color of the hair, the color of the eyes, the outfit started to change, really did, in my opinion, still bring the character forward. I used videos that I had generated with stills that were like in an anime style, but not that character. And then I used those videos as the video transfer. So the idea there being that there's still important work to be done with the underlying content, that we actually do have to think about what's underneath, but that also, my big takeaway from that was you retain more clarity of line work with a style like this if you use an underlying video. So this is, for me, like the big next mountain to climb, which is finding, and this is why I'm excited to work in like a studio environment as well, being able to work with in making sort of like underlying animations that drive a repainted in a stylized like anime or 2D style, and to create a really consistent, really narratively driven story. And so that for me is like the big thing to crack, and what I'm like now eye on the prize with. So I don't have a lot more to share because I've been really obsessively training Laura's for the last 3 weeks, and so I kind of was like, oh, I have to make something, and I'm really, again, thank you to my creative partner for making the music, I think with Suno, and mastering it and creating that. So yeah, I don't have much more to add, but thank you guys for letting me share my art with you.
Thank you so much, Minta. Alrighty, that was really cool. The next man needs, I think, for the most of us, not really an introduction, because he's the very reason why a lot of us even know of one another. Some of you guys know him under the name Pom. Some know him under the name Peter O'Malley.
There's one button on this that has like forward, and that says a lot about me, I think. This presentation slide actually initially belongs to Matteo Spinelli, who I guess you guys know, and him and I have been kind of like working on a tool together for a while, but unfortunately he's been feeling unwell. So I basically, when this came to light around a week ago, I didn't feel comfortable to present what we were working on, because it's more like his baby and I'm like the weird uncle. So I basically just made something else that I've been thinking about for a long time, and I'll just try to explain a little bit to you guys. And I also have barely slept in 2 days, so I can't actually remember what's here, so it's going to be a surprise to me too. Yeah, that sounds good. Yeah, but basically, I think like I am really interested in the whole open source ecosystem in like a meta way. It's just like a phenomenon of human nature, and especially how it kind of contradicts with a lot of what's happening in the world. Where a lot of the time most people won't get out of bed unless someone is like paying them to be somewhere. Yet in the open source ecosystem, you have all these geniuses who are working day and night for free. And not only that, but they'll answer customer service queries pretty much at any time of the day. And I'm just like, I don't know what's happening there, but that should be studied, especially when it's just so at odds with so much of the world. And I've just been really curious about why people do this, and why do they care so much, and enough that they're gonna not only spend all that time, but objectively spend all that time struggling, coming up against something that they basically mostly don't understand, even if they are, geniuses. And I think this Stable Diffusion 1.5 resurrection. But I think for a lot of it, there's something internal driving them, and obviously, me or a lot of these people, a lot of you guys aren't the most well-adjusted people who fit into society in normal ways, and for whatever reason you're driven to do this, and it could be to prove someone wrong, to prove yourself right, or just because you see this as being really good. But I think with this internal drive, then I think where the actual action comes from is this kind of inspiration from the outside, that people see these things that happen in the world, and as a product of this, they're kind of like inspired to take action on something. And they're supported by all these other people who are doing the same thing, all for their own reason and all with their own inspiration. And I was thinking about this a lot, and I think what really hit me was just like how this kind of really resembled how things kind of like work in nature. And then I was like, oh, that's why they call it the open source ecosystem. And I was like, those guys figured it out a long time ago. But you know, that basically each plant has its own kind of like reward function that it needs to grow up towards the light. And then there's basically all these other, there's light that comes all the time that basically like drives them in a particular direction. There's water that gives them energy. And it felt like we kind of build all these systems to try to get humans to do things, whereas what's happening in the open source ecosystem feels a lot more like what happens in nature. And basically that means it has a lot of like unusual characteristics. Like it can't be like forced. It's very like non-confrontational. It moves slower in some ways. But it can't be forced. It can kind of be cultivated. And it's kind of like, yeah, what I think about a lot is that what I tried to do with the banodoco ecosystem or the community was, you know, I don't know if you've ever seen someone put up like, you know, a bunch of wall for vine to crawl up, where they put these like pieces of wood every like 30 centimeters, and they know that like the vine is going to reach up to another part because it grows a certain amount. And like I think you can kind of like do stuff like that with the open source ecosystem, but you can't, you know, for example, like create like a Trello board for people because that's just never going to work. But you can kind of like inspire them, I think, in different ways. And I think with the lack of that, or even with bad cultivation, it actually kind of like depresses it in lots of different ways and kind of causes it to you know, be malnourished. And good cultivation obviously can help it thrive in a way that intentionally man-made like systems never could, because it'll be this weird kind of emergent thing and not something that someone designed. And one thing I've been thinking about a lot, and this is kind of what I decided to do with that preamble, I've been thinking a lot about this. There's kind of like a really like our space is kind of very lacking in terms of the cultivation of knowledge and resources. And there's obviously like Hugging Face, who are really fantastic for models, but they're obviously quite focused on the infrastructure layer and not really not so focused on curating that. And then there's Civit. This is this is no joke. But what I was like, am I being harsh to Civit? But then I went in here and I was like, this one here is like upscaling and interpolation. And I was like, does that really need to be not safe for work? And I was like, I'm just going to click that one to see what's there. And I was like, yeah, they didn't need it. I can see why they put that there. But anyway, Civit is like Civit, basically. And then there's obviously like, there's loads of people who just do this. This is, I don't know if you guys know Space Pixel. This is just like I just came across his GitHub, and he has all these like really meticulous guides written. You know, they all have like 20 stars, you know, but he just like has done like science on training LoRa's, you know, and just like try to interpret everything, has all these kind of like explanations for things. But a lot of this stuff kind of gets lost in different GitHubs. And this is basically where this whole idea for like Open Muse came along. And this is kind of like very modern logo. Apparently you're allowed to put women on logos again. And the whole idea of it is to basically be a curation layer on top of all the resources in the ecosystem. And basically what that means is there's all these people producing lots of stuff, you know, lots of questionable things, some good stuff on Civit, lots of like really good models and LoRa's on top of Hugging Face. But there's basically no way to tell what's good and what you should pay attention to and what's kind of, you know, worthwhile you like trying out. And then there's lots of these people who, you know, I guess all of you guys probably know of this gentleman called Kajai, you know, that, for example, if Kajai says something's good, you know, I'm just like, I'm going to turn off my brain on that one and just trust him, you know. And there's a lot of people who, in different ways, from an artistic perspective or from a kind of, you know, just from their work, you kind of just trust if they say something's good, that it's good. And then out the other side of that, if you have all these resources that all these people curate, then you have high quality resources that people can trust. That, for example, when you pick up a guide, you know it's not going to tell you some nonsense. If you try to LoRa, you know it's going to be well trained. If you kind of like, you know, go to a repo, you know it's going to basically do it. And basically, that's kind of what I was working on for the last few days. Basically, just building this kind of curation layer tool on top of just video LoRa's and just on top of Hugging Face and Civet. And basically, that's kind of the idea behind it, just to basically be a curation layer where it's mostly just me to start adding stuff, me to start just like looking at everything everyone submits and just choosing what goes on the page. And ideally, I'll just do that relentlessly for a few months. And then hopefully some people will appreciate it. Hopefully some of the people who will help me curate it. Hopefully other people will start adding resources. And if we do that, then it can be this really good resource that everyone in the community can use. And you won't feel deeply ashamed to send to someone in your family if they're interested in AI art. The first LoRa, there's only one thing on it so far, and the first thing is basically a LoRa that I made of like a plant growing that I stayed up all night 2 nights ago and just watched hours of David Attenborough documentaries and just watch all these weird YouTubers who spend years, doing these kind of like taking photos of plants every day. I just, got like 80 videos of this and then trained the LoRa on plants growing basically, except in fast motion. And basically that's the only thing on the website so far. And I think it could be cool. But I think if any of you guys like the idea of like watching plants grow in fast motion, you could just go there and try out the LoRa and then add them there. And if you come across other LoRa's that you like, you could just go and add them there. And the website is openmuse.ai. And one thing I thought could be cool is basically I think that like I was watching this David Attenborough documentary, and like we all think plants are kind of boring, but then if you speed them up times 1,000, they're like ferocious, They're like, when they're trying to break through the canopy, they're all like clawing each other down to try to get above the other one, and they're like really vicious in different ways, and like not this kind of like placid, boring thing that we think of. And I thought about the whole idea of basically using this LoRa ideally with the community to make a video that kind of is a good analogy for the open source ecosystem that shows how, us plant-like people, or people who are, existing in a plant-like state, can actually together achieve something like really remarkable, especially in this artistic space, if we kind of are able to kind of like grow together and build a nourishing ecosystem. So I basically started to make a video. I made this like in 5 minutes. But what I'm going to try to do is just keep on making clips for it. And if you guys want to contribute clips to it, I'm going to basically try to make it into a video that just shows like the epic story of a plant taking over the world. But this is just the first few seconds.
Thank you, Pom. All right. Next, we have our panel, and after this, it might be interesting for some of you, we have a little intermission, so you have like some time to go to the bathroom, to get a drink, to just take a breather. And I'm really, really excited for this panel because we have some amazing speakers. Intermission is after the panel, yeah? Yes, for our speakers, we have, very, very excited to have him here, our Lightrix CEO, Zine Farbman. We have Peter O'Malley. We have Emma Catnip, our lady in the panel. And we have Poli Passos from Hugging Face. And this all will be moderated by Mel Masidan. Masidan? Yes. Come on, guys. Hello.
share?
There's something.
Huh?
The lights indeed are something. The lights.
Well, good evening, everyone. Welcome to this panel. So this panel is about, as you can see on the screen, open source and AI. I think it's very interesting to have LTX because they pretty much do both. So they have an open source model that is backing their product. So that's an interesting perspective on the thing. And yeah, we're gonna start like that. So sorry.
We can help to introduce yourself. It
maybe,
helps.
Maybe, yeah.
Okay, guys. Nice to meet you. My name is
yourself.
Zev. I'm one of the co-founders of Lightrix and the CEO of the company. My background is in computer graphics. I did my PhD where most of my research was somewhere on the border between computer graphics and image processing. So I was polishing pixels my whole life, and it's really fun.
Hi everyone, I am Apolinario, but you can call me Polly just because it's easier. I work at Hugging Face for almost 3 years now, and yeah, I've joined literally 2 weeks before the release of Stable Diffusion, and I joined. Basically, they hired me. They had something, and they're like, "We think this AI art thing is gonna get really big." So we want, and I was working on like in the periphery of this community. Like I have a few commits into like Disco Diffusion, and I was like part of this early community, like with clip-guided diffusion and all that. So they're like, well, you want like one of these weird people like you in the team, and then yeah, the rest is kind of a history. But then yeah, that's me.
Oh well, you've all just met me a minute ago, so I'm sure I don't need to go into that.
Yeah, and I'm Pam, and I can just that's it.
So I think I'm going to start with you, Ziv. The first question I would have is, what is the real benefit for a private company, for a private product, to open source the video model? And what are the hurdles you come across when training a video model from scratch? Like,
a bunch of people here already mentioned like this magical 2022 when GenAI reached like a certain point where I think it became clear that's like a new paradigm in computer graphics, and there are going to be a ton of cool things happening. So I think we started like this era with a lot of youthful naivete, right? We thought that the models are going to be open and we'll be able to build cool products, cool art on top of it. But what happened is that the world of AI became kind of more and more closed. So initially we partnered with Stability AI, we licensed our models. Back then it was SVD and started to kind of tinker on top of it. But then, I guess guys, you know the story, right? Like Bill Peebles and a bunch of other people, his co-authors, like wrote this paper about video diffusion transformers and showed us a very promising architecture. So then OpenAI hired him. Like Emad and Stability also trying to hire him, but like he told me that OpenAI outbeat them, like I don't know, X4 or something like that. So OpenAI trained Sora. It became clear that okay, a video diffusion transformers, that's like the architecture for next generation of video models. Then I flew to London to meet Emad, and I asked him, listen, like, are you going to train a similar architecture? We need like the stuff for our products because they're just like really the future. We can't, you know, can't rely on unit-based models like SVD in order to do stuff. And I don't know, Emad told me that everything is fine and things are going to happen, etc. And then when I kind of flew back, like really a week after Emad stepped down as CEO of Stability or was fired, I don't know, like the details of the story. And for us, it became clear, okay, we're in trouble. Like, we want to build like cutting-edge AI stuff. We need an access to the latest models. When we started to speak with the closed kind of model guys, and we tried to figure out if there's like some kind of deal to be made, and we realized that just like the price points of the closed models don't make sense for a lot of use cases, right? Like, think about like the API pricing of Kling or Runway or all these guys. So it's like the price differs from like say like 30 cents to maybe Google V, or like $1 to free, depends on where you're like working with it. But we made like a computation, and like it became clear that we need a model like that's 3 orders of magnitude cheaper in order to make it sense kind of in the context we deploy these models. And we realized, well, we just don't have a choice, but we have to step up and open the model. And then the big problem become like, okay, let's say you're like focusing on the segment of extremely performant models, how you're still going to be competitive with the giants of the world. Like thinking about like a company like Google that's like really doesn't open their latest and greatest stuff. The combined power of research in Google is in the kind of order of more or less all the Ivy League universities together in the US, right? That's like a really huge research muscle. And for us, the conclusion was clear. In order to be competitive, you have to rely on the power of academia and the community in order to kind of keep working on your model together. So when we started to think about like design of the models, the main consideration was how you're making like very accessible for AI enthusiasts and people in the academia. So when you ask about like the main benefit is that, it's just like create a model that a lot of people can work with, tinker really easily, with like very low compute costs. And when you combine all the power of the academia and the industry, then you have a chance to be in the game.
But what is the... This doesn't really explain the open source aspect of it.
No, like I think in order to, for people to tinker with the model, at the very least it needs to be open weights, right? Like otherwise there's kind of no point. Now in terms of like a specific of the license, so it's true that people in academia care less about like the commercial aspects of the license. And then you're kind of facing the dilemma, okay, should the model be completely open, or you're gonna do like some freemium tier? And I think a lot of companies, like if you're looking at the model, like, you know, you mentioned like Van and Hunyuan, and like, let's think about great open LLMs like Llama, they do have some caveats in their licensing that beyond a certain size you can't use. So I think like with our bigger models, we're gonna go a similar route that beyond a certain amount of revenues, I don't know, like $10 million a year and up, then you have to talk about with us about licensing. But kind of the small models like the should be, I think, completely free, and even the big ones should be like really accessible to the academia and to broader AI community in order for us to get the benefit of everyone looking at this model and keep improving it.
Thank you. And so do you all use video models? Yeah? Do you, Emma, do you use? Yeah, or any video models, like, yeah, you use specific. And do you, sorry, I'm not sure how to connect the question. I have many questions for all of you, but I'm not sure how to connect them together.
No, like I can have actually have a question for you. What are like the factors that determine what kind of model you're using? Right, like we saw one here, we have Hunyuan, we have COG, but now we actually have like a bunch of open models, right? Like what kind of things you're looking in the model? What's the most important stuff?
Well, oh yeah, I think really great prompt adherence is using, I mean, they're getting better now with natural language. You know, there was this sort of absolute word salad we had to use at one time to get anything out, and strange slashes and does brackets, lots and lots of brackets seem to do something to the various models and make the words more powerful. So I think as they start to adhere to more natural language that you can use to describe things, that's definitely something I look for. I personally, I mean, I like the quirky stuff, you know, so I kind of quite like when things don't, you know, are not perfect. And what I look for in a model, because I don't do a lot of realism, is whether it can be super creative in the ways that I need? Can it like provide an artistic style and stuff like that? That's what I'm kind of looking for.
I'll ask Mel a question. So as Mel's a developer in the Comfy ecosystem, one of the top developers in the Comfy ecosystem. But when you obviously build on lots on top of lots of different models, you know, and use them in lots of different ways. But what do you, when you're as a developer in the Comfy ecosystem, what drives you to build on
it? For me, it's more about tinkering. So the days I don't know how much of you are using open source AE tools. But like I started with SD 1.5 basically, and we had a ton of adapters on SD 1.5, so it made the tinkering, like you said, very fun because you had like control nets, you had EP adapter, you had a lot of stuff you could combine. And I'm starting to refine this kind of level of things because with the in-painting stuff and things like that. So I would say for me it's more about how much you can combine the different methods of AI together. And I'm not looking for specific stuff in a model. I like model that does very well small stuff, a bit like they do in LLM. They like do focused training stuff. And I think it's the same it's going to be a multimodal stuff where we're going to pick the best of each models at some point. And so yeah, I would say that, yeah. Would say that.
I can answer kind of like to your question on like the broader Hugging Face community level. I think that at Hugging Face, like we face this challenge quite a lot because there is like a new model every week or day or 2 hours, depends on the week. And then we grapple like, you know, like the diffusers team is like, should we integrate this day 0 or not? And then should we build a demo? And also like the community is like, oh, yet another model, is it good? Like, is it worth trying to like invest time and energy on it and all that? And I think it boils down to 2 factors. One is quality. A lot of people try to like compromise quality and speed, but if there's one thing that the OpenAI release has shown, is that quality kind of like the OpenAI image generation model has shown is that quality almost beats every other trade-off. Like if you release something that is beyond the state of the art of what people are used to, you can get around with like it requiring like massive loads of VRAM. The community will figure out how to reduce that, even if it takes half an hour. So I think that's for example why and quality in many factors, quality of the image, quality of the prompt adherence, and all that. I think for example this is why 1, even though it's a really chunky model, that if you try to run 2.1 in a tiny GPU, right now you can up to 5 gigs of VRAM, but it takes like almost 3 hours to render an 8-second video, but people are willing to do it because it has good prompt adherence, it adheres to the LoRa's pretty well and all. And the second one is speed and versatility, right? So once a super distilled fast model is released, even if the quality isn't super great, it allows so many new workflows, it allows people with very small GPUs to use, and that's the other thing that people really get excited for. So sometimes when a release happens in the middle of this too, it doesn't get that much excitement. But if you release something that is either really fast or really advancing the frontier of quality, I can guarantee you that the community is going to love it. Also, what you said, there is a quote from Brian Eno that says all the quirky, weird, and kind of characteristics of a particular new medium ends up becoming the defining factor of that medium. So like I think all these AI glitches that started in 2021, 2022 that people are desperately trying to get rid of, like all the flickering, all the weird like faces and all that. Now when I look back, I'm like, that actually looks like, when I see DALL-E 2 generations, I'm like, that hits some interesting spots. So I think it's like, you know, when you have like this perfect 4K thing and then on Adobe software and then there's a filter like VHSify it and then it's like just this weird VHS filter and people like it. Or like even now we have like disposable camera and people are like buying these digital cameras back. So I think, yeah, we'll probably see kind of AI art nostalgia and then we'll try to like shove back into the models. Like, how do we add the glitches again? Like, how do we make it flicker on purpose now? Things like that.
Yeah, the interesting thing that got me thinking about was just as the community adoption, there's like day one adoption. Like, for example, like with 01 or whatever you call it, 4.0, that would have a crazy day one adoption. Like Sora as well had like this crazy adoption, but then like 3 months post Sora, I don't think I've seen anything made with Sora. I can't think of anything. Whereas you made Bloom like almost a year after STXL came out, probably like 6 months after Hotshot came out, and it's like it just takes time to grow into an artist for you to become familiar with it and for it to, you know, become something that you actually like, you know and trusts. And that's like yeah, it's like there's like 2 dimensions of the adoption. I think is like the spike, and then there's the, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I totally agree with that, and because it does take. I mean, so many things happen so quickly, as you were saying. It could be the new model may have dropped whilst we're speaking here. We're going to rush to the
Very
internet
likely.
to find it, but it does take a while to work with them, and rather than jumping ship every time something new comes out, it is cool to explore. And to go into what you were saying about the adaptability, I would agree with that too, how it fits in the ecosystem as it is. Can we use these things? These are decisions that make me immediately not even try something because I know already it's not going to get me where I need to go, and I don't have that kind of time to spend just pulling the slot machine lever. So yeah.
This makes me wonder, as an artist, how do you find your own style? How do you keep your style while you are jumping onto new models, new things that are releasing, new?
I mean, we probably all have a set of like prompts that we use to see, and you know pretty well, like within the first 1 or 2 generations, whether it's kind of doing what you want to do. And you know, I bet we all do. I bet we've all got like 6 or 10 prompts we try every time first off. So yeah, if I don't see it in there, then I'm not going to push for it or try and make it happen. But yeah, the accessibility of how it works in the already thriving ecosystem is absolutely crucial. For style and stuff, I mean, each different model brings something different to the party. When you can start to use control nets and IP adapters and a LoRa and things like that, then you can get some super interesting results. And I think that's when your real style starts to shine through. I'm always trying to find something I haven't seen quite yet before. And there's this huge latent space to explore. We don't even know what's in it all, do we? So
just don't explore the space with CFG. That's like beyond 10, right? That's like really crime against humanity. But
I think with a lot of this, I think we're in this kind of very novelty stage of AI, and I actually think when Emma and Minter are speaking about it, like their whole journey with it, that's kind of what everyone in the utopian kind of world will do. They won't be superficially playing with them. They'll be like going really deep and, you know, having this tool that they're comfortable using for 12 hours a day and knowing that they can turn up the CFG to 20 and getting this weird stuff, you know. And I think that's like, I think if everyone has that kind of relationship with AI, I think that would be amazing, you know. And I think that's what's so good about having, you know, role models like that who are, you know, paving the way, because that's what everyone needs to do. So thank you, Emma, and everyone.
Okay, so I'm going to switch subjects. What do you think, because we all use, I think, open source and closed source tool, you keep comparing them. There is a strange balance between the two, where sometimes there is a huge jump into the closed source stuff, or vice versa, it's the open source stuff that brings. What do you think the long-term balance on that is, and especially maybe Ziv, you're the good one to start that because you have a company that is based on open source stuff. What do you think open source bring to LTX in terms of feedback or the tinkering we were talking about earlier?
So the guy in the corner there is Yaron. He was our CTO, my co-founder. We were like in the same, doing PhD in the same lab. That's something we discussed a lot. I think we're like in a very unusual point in the history of computing where there is like an unusual barrier of entrance, which is the amount of compute that's required to train the models. Because if you think about the algorithmic side of things, that's required to kind of have state-of-the-art of models. So the model layer, the architecture itself is like very well understood. That typically happens in the academia, right? Like the companies don't reinvent the wheel here, and there's like no mode there. There's like no proprietary information around like the core architecture of the model. It's like applied math and also pretty well understood. In the end of the day, and that's like a counterintuitive thing for people who are not doing like AI themselves. It's pretty simple stuff. If you know like a basic linear algebra and calculus, you can do kind of AI research. So that's like one type of people you need to do cutting edge AI. Another type, if you want to have like a really kind of competitive inference time and cost, you need like low-level optimizers that are living close to hardware. And okay, there's also like abundance of people like that. Obviously there are also abundance of people like that in the open source community. So, okay, if you're like the right people working on the open models, like people in academia do the architecture and people in the open source community do like optimization, what the problem is. And the problem is obviously compute. That like creates like this weird kind of imbalance between closed and open models. But it's also kind of more nuanced. Guys, like think about like GPT-4o and all of the image stuff that you mentioned. It's actually an interesting thing. Like we already knew from some work that were done in academia and some, let's call them kind of toy models coming from academia, that multimodal stuff is great. We already have like Lumina 2, we already have like OmniGen that kind of clearly show that like the future of the models. But then before OpenAI like put a ton of compute there, no one actually kind of doubled down on this direction. Now there's like this interesting thing happened that clearly showed to everyone that's like the way to go. And they spend like a ton of money on the experience around it. So like the dynamics kind of more nuanced, right? Like these closed source companies with a ton of capital, they're doing like a crazy amount of experiments, but like we on the open side of things also benefit a ton. When you hear like, for example, claims about like Chinese companies training LLMs at the 1% of the costs, it is true, but just like remember that the experimentation that costs a ton, that's like where people kind of put billion in the compute, is an important signal that everyone is learning from. So in the end of the day, I think like if we're like going in the future, I think these models are going to become commoditized, they're going to be open because you can't actually create moat around them. Obviously, when this future arrives, it's kind of not clear yet. And the interplay between open and closed are kind of more nuanced. Like I told Yaron when we started to discuss what OpenAI did this week, it's like super important signal for us, right? Because like so far we were conservative in how we did, for example, text encoding, right? You were using like T5, and before that we used like Clip, etc. Now I realize, okay, it's a great thing to do. It's saving everyone kind of a ton of cost. So I know it's like sometimes annoying for open folks to look at all the open AI stuff, and you know they're like the bad guys and closed AI, etc., etc. It's more nuanced than that. We're learning a lot from what closed folks are doing. We're bringing it to the open world and benefit from people in academia doing stuff. So in the end of the day, I think it's like a pretty exciting and entertaining game for everyone.
And just to add, I mean, I agree 100%, but I guess I'm a bit biased to say this, but I'm a very much open source maximalist. I think that it's very, like, I truly believe that in this trade-off, I fully agree with the nuances. It was the same with Sora. Like once a closed company showcases the path that, oh, we scaled and it works, then it sends a signal and then everyone does the same. So expect in the next couple months, maybe weeks, to see a bunch of like native image generation similar to 4.0. There's already like Anol, which is like a open replication of Chameleon, and I can guarantee you that there is many more to come. But I think that the only way we will, like, it's very unlikely that we'll have the whole world running like plugged into one of 3 APIs, right? Like, oh, it's like, oh, is your company like a wrapper around Gemini, OpenAI, or Anthropic? I really don't maybe don't want to, and don't really see that as the future we are in. So I think that these companies can still keep pushing the frontier. They'll have like maybe a gap of time that will shorten and shorten. But I think that there is no way that we'll go through this AI kind of revolution without AI becoming an infrastructure layer, right? And the infrastructure layer has to be somewhat open, and then we're all building on top of it in different ways. So that's a bit how I see it. And also, like, more and more like companies and enterprises end up, like when DeepSeek was out, it's very surprising that a lot of American companies went and said, you know what, we're going to host this internally, so they don't have like the problem of like hosting a model in China or whatever, but we're going to host it internally and then do it ourselves, because it's a big liability to any company to like send all their data to an OpenAI API, and maybe they offer an enterprise thing hosted only for you, but like it's similar to how pre-machine learning software was made. It's like more and more the companies want to have kind of control. And also, we are seeing a phenomena that is very, very interesting, and it keeps coming back and forth. I don't know where it's going to resolve, but it's kind of common to see that small models end up outperforming big models on very specific tasks. So we see a big model doing everything, and then someone like fine-tunes a really tiny model on a one particular task, and that like we have, for example, some models that outperform the best LLMs on a very narrow task, like, oh, generating SVGs or this and that. So yeah, I think small models doing specialized tasks for very cheap compute plus big models as infrastructure layer can be a way to look into this.
All right. Thank you so much, you guys. I don't want to interrupt you, but it's time for our intermission. Go take a little break, get a little bit champagne, go pee. And then afterwards we have some actually interactive stuff for you. So stay excited. All right, everybody. Intermission is over. Please take back your seats. We have another few artists coming. And then after that, we can go party again. So let's do this. Meow. Please take your seats back in the theater. It's going on. Come on, come on, come on. The show must go on, people. Let's do this. Chuck your wine, swallow your pastry. You can do it. I do. Thank you. Thank you for taking the camera. Oh yeah. Thank you. I love this. All right, ladies and gentlemen, intermission is over. Let's go back into the theater.
Bonjour, just if you...
By the way, please leave your glasses outside. Okay, everybody. Let's calm ourselves. I know it's been really, really exciting so far. But we keep going. Alrighty. Are you ready? Then give me a we. What was that? Oh, oui, mon chéri. Okay. We go on, and now we're going to have some interactive stuff. We have some news about some really, really, really exciting model I got kind of obsessed with in the last few weeks, with which or version of it I've actually, the intro video that you've seen in the very beginning has been made. But there is a guy I will introduce to you now who will know more about it and who will hopefully get you very excited about it as I am already. And this man is no other than Ophir Bibi.
Clicker? Oh, it's the single button.
Yes, a single button.
Well, where is Peter? I guess I'm in the same group. Maybe it's just men. I don't know. So yes, I'm Ophir. I'm from Lightrix, and I managed the research group who did this thing that's called LTX Video. And I really, really hope that many of you knew it even before this marvelous event. And if you did not, then that's cool too. And now you do, because I'll tell you just really shortly about where we started and where we're going. So, like we talked about, Laura's here quite a lot. People said, oh, it's hard to get these, maybe 8 photos that are kind of the same, maybe 80. So think about like tens of millions of videos that go into actually training a model. So it starts from that, and there's actually a few other folks here from the research team, and also the person in charge of the data team. So you might want to catch them as well. And then after you get all this data, you need to process it and you need to get it. And like Zev said, we wanted our model to be orders of magnitude faster and cheaper than anything else. So we had to find a couple of tricks to make everything more efficient, and the encoder was like the base of it. It compresses so much that it's super fast, and also later we found Hertz quality in some places. So like I can assure you we're working on it, and quality will rise much faster than you think. And eventually there's also compute in it, and you have to make it work, but that's just the base model. Actually, the base model gives you like a lot of nice stuff, a lot of videos that you can prompt, or where LTXV shines, which is the image to video flows. But really, really,
at every table, there's a quiet center.
To a whole workflow.
A place where stories unfold, laughter lingers, and connections deepen. For over 140 years, we've been the heart of that table. Barilla, at the heart of every table.
Right. So for order for all of you to make stuff like that, you need consistency, and you need controls, and you need all these things on top of the model. So with 095, right, we released frame control, first frame, last frame, intermediate frames, whatever frame or sequence that you want to put as a condition, you can. That gives you a lot of power. And more than that, like Zev said, also, we really want to work with all of you, because we can bake stuff into the model, but we really expect a lot of layers on top of the model to be built. Some of them by us, most of them hopefully by you. So stuff like juxtapose, building all the inversion, RF edits on top of LTXV allows you, cool stuff like like this. And then you can also add motion control. And you can do things like changing the viewpoint first in 3D and then run it through the biggest rendering engine there is, which is LTXV. And all these things allow you more and more controls. And specifically for those who are interested in like what we saw just now, right? Hopefully, yeah, it runs again. So it all starts from the same video, and then, and then we get to 3 different viewpoints. If you like these types of things, hopefully soon we'll also release more nodes on like 3D and geometry and stuff like that. And finally, I think a lot of people like all the control nets, and it's been a journey, but it's really coming soon, where you can take a video and instead of doing inversion, you can extract the pose from it. And it really helps, because if originally you'd get something that might be also not that great, then you can get the exact motion that you want, okay? So coming up, work with academia, really cool stuff. And maybe finally, I think that anyone who's wrote shaders, who knows what shaders are, right? Yay, couple. So, between like trying to write all of this as shaders, as particle simulation, as whatever it would take months on end, this is a generation in a couple of hours. So hopefully, again, you'll contribute, you'll look at LTX video, you'll try it with our new trainer. You'll be able to do LoRa's. With the new distilled model, you'll be able to get it even faster. And as things progress, and we are here to back you up, you'll get to build really cool stuff, which is where I'm handing off to other people who build really cool stuff with LTX video kind of mixed inside of it. Right, so, Christian.
Thank you. I use my own laptop. Good evening. Hello, hello. Okay, so the first thing I want to answer is, why am I here? And part of the answer to that is this map. So you see, I'm born and raised in Germany, where I also did my PhD. And then I was a long time outside of Europe. And just 3 years ago, I came to Paris. And this is one part of the reason why I'm here. The other reason is about the research I was doing. So since the year 2000, I've been working on augmented reality. And since 2018, so quite recently, relatively, I started doing AI things. So I did an art piece while I was in Hong Kong. And then finally, all these things converged. And since April 2024, we have a team here in Paris. So several of them are here. And today, we want to show you our first public demo of our main project. All right, so let me do it chronologically. So first about augmented reality. So it took me like 10 years to basically understand a little. And then we made this demo, which I think is pretty cool. So you see there's a person wearing AR glasses, and then we set their hands on fire. And for that, we got some award at some augmented reality conference. And here you can see how it looked like. And if you see what the fire is doing, it's very, very high fidelity. You can see every finger movement. Okay, there are some bugs, but so basically there are really vortices and really these kind of swirl effects. And this is a little behind the scenes. So for augmented reality, because what you need to do here, right? So you need to simulate the fire. So you can see here, this is like a Navier-Stokes fluid simulation running in real time on the GPU. So it's like 1 million particles. And then you see on the left side, you can see this is the temperature of the fire. And in the middle, you can see the velocity and the velocities. And then, so computer graphics one side, other side is computer vision, because you need to reconstruct how the hands are moving. And basically, you can mask out based on the skin color. We know where the hands are. And then, because we have 2 cameras in the head mount, we can do epipolar geometry. And then we can make a real-time depth map. And we can also make how the hand is moving in 3D space. And based on that information, it's how we drive the fire and how we get to this very realistic stuff. And I want to show you many things, but there's not enough time, I was told. So I can only show you a few things. So this is one. The next thing, something completely different. So this was while I was in Japan. So our idea was the HoloLens came out, and then, okay, let's make something cool with the HoloLens. What could we do? Let's make a large-scale game that all over Osaka, which is like one of the biggest cities in Japan, maybe number 2, I think. And there we want to have a game that you can play all over the city. And of course, it's very, very challenging. So basically this kind of idea. So you have multiplayer, and you have drones, and you can shoot monsters, and here you can see some tracking tests. And it's very amazing. So this is the Osaka Namba station. About 1 million people per day go through, so very, very busy. And also around there, like a shopping area, and you see we can track at day, track at night. But now in all of these movies, what we don't show is actually the camera moving. So always the camera is static, and that makes the problem much, much easier. But even with a static camera, you can see that the augmentations are still very stable. And now let me show you how we got it to moving cameras. Because then it's like, okay, you can have players and they walk around and the drones stay with them. And it's like in a quite big area, like a few hundred by few hundred meters. And yeah, where you can collaboratively play. And again, it's the story about augmented reality. You need vision and graphics. And here the graphics are very primitive because the HoloLens is like weaker than a mobile phone nowadays. So you cannot render much. So here this was mainly about the vision problem. As you see here, there's some MechWarrior thing, and you look away, you look back, still in the same spot. So how can you do that? So first, we're building meshes, or more precisely point clouds of the environment, which the HoloLens does by default, but the HoloLens is quite a limited tracking volume. So then what we do, we build multiple of these, and then stitch them together into a global model, and then track against that. Yeah, so it's one of the takeaway lessons I want to give you is this augmented reality. You always have to consider vision and graphics as like one unit. Okay, and then I want to show you our most recent work. So this we showed at SIGGRAPH last year. And so this is a typical photo at a concert, right? And then this is basically very sad if you think about it, right? So thousands of people get together and they watch something together. But then this is like together alone, right? Everybody looks at their mobile phone, doesn't even look at the person next to them, so it's terrible. So this was our initial point, how we got started. And because clearly now many big companies work on AR glasses, and it won't take long, and we won't have mobile phones anymore, or not so much, I guess, but more everything will be in form factor. And then how would an event look like? If you imagine, right? If everybody would wear glasses and they could somehow animate them to play together and instead of looking at their phone and posting stuff on Twitter. So that was our idea. So let's see a little of the demo.
For SIGGRAPH Real-Time Live 2024, we present a live real-time audio-visual performance designed to be experienced by a live audience. We then extend the experience for selected members of the audience using augmented reality to give them an entirely new perspective on the performance. A research collaboration between Université Paris-Saclay, Canon Japan, Notch, and Los Angeles-based multidisciplinary artist Brett Bolton. The performance is based on Bolton's recent...
Because you see here, right, the point is that what is very standard is you have a performer and behind them you have visuals on the screen. But our idea is that, right, the visuals kind of play with the band, but also can play with the audience. And if you want to see more, so I wrote a blog post about that with quite a lot of detail, and it was quite an adventure. All right, so now let's go to the AI side. So 2018, I moved to Hong Kong, and then I got a mentor, Jeffrey Shaw. So I'm interested, who of you has heard of Jeffrey Shaw? Okay, a few. Jeffrey Shaw is quite an old guy, so he worked, for example, with Pink Floyd, so he made the pics for their tour and also on the album cover. It was in London long time, and was a very remarkable mentor for me. So because he made his first augmented reality demo in 1975, which is the year I was born. So it was quite interesting to hear his views about augmented reality, and you can follow him. He's still doing augmented reality demos all the time. He's a very, very interesting guy. And at that time, he told me, yeah, because this was, I went to an electronic art school, so they had like technology people and artists, and I was more on the technology side, so he was like, okay, so Chris, you really need to look into this AI thing, because that will be the next big thing for the art world. Okay, I've never done it. Okay, I knew a little, of course, for tracking and computer vision tasks, you use machine learning, but okay, so then I found StyleGun, I thought, oh, that's interesting. And then there was also coincidentally that there was a Leonardo da Vinci exhibition in Hong Kong where they had original pages from Leonardo da Vinci notebooks. And then my idea was to train a style gun to make new notebook pages. And what I understand now, this was not a good idea because there are not so many actually. There are just 4,000 and I found some sites where I could download 3,000. But it's not enough, yeah? Then I got some student helpers and they cut the pages apart and put them together in new ways. But okay, you need more like millions of pages to use a style gun. Oh well, but it worked kind of interestingly. But then I wasn't so convinced about AI at the time. Oh well, I saw it has big potential, but that it's very difficult. And then what really got me into it, let me go back. Yeah, it was 2022 because I went to SIGGRAPH and I saw nerfs and also Stable Diffusion came out. And then I think I had the insight that I saw, okay, it will be possible to do real-time graphics with it. It can be like a new rendering engine that, yeah, you don't use Unreal Engine, you use a diffusion thing that somehow makes the graphics for your game in real time. Yeah, and then over the time I did all the usual things. So I trained LoRa's. And I don't know, the one, on the left side for you. This is my family, actually. Some family members sent me emails. Finally you bought a suit. But no, I don't have a suit. And then, yeah, I also did the usual funny things. So animate div. Yeah, I think you've all done that. All right, so this... yeah, and then came our team RI, so augmented reality and artificial intelligence. And you can see here kind of our org chart. And it's interesting, we have 2 external engineers who are like kind of data center guys and helping us to do things data center, 5 PhD students, 2 interns. I think we are 7 here tonight, so if you want to chat more, and also we have a web page. Yeah, and so what is our team all about? Because now almost 1 year old. So kind of our driving vision was this. So it's basically me fighting with my wife, which happens too often, unfortunately. And then I look like in B. Yeah? So B is actually a photo taken from the viewpoint of my wife. But she's wearing AR glasses, right? And then the idea is that she could modulate what she's seeing, right? So because I look very angry, but C and D, I look more friendly. And this is actually done with a diffusion model, right? But it was too slow. But kind of if you imagine this future that everybody has glasses and you can adjust the world that you see according to how you want it. And then, yeah, so we tried to do that. And then first thing, we used stream diffusion, which I guess many of you know. And then we had the usual results. So we could make our Führer mask at 180 frames per second. It's not so bad. And then also we prepared a demo for a company. Maybe you can guess which one. Which basically is like a magic mirror. So you step in front of the magic mirror and then it turns you into someone. Okay, but now the problem, right? So to get there, so this was running at it took 6 seconds to make CND, so not very optimized, to SDXL with, yeah, with a bunch of things. So 6 seconds per image, much too slow. So if you think what the HoloLens is doing, it runs, so the latency of the whole rendering pipeline with computer vision and computer graphics is like 10 milliseconds. So you need 600 times speed up. So how to do that? So our first idea was this, that basically, okay, we have glasses connected to a PC, and then we stream it into a data center. And the one we have in France is called Jonzay, and it has H100 GPUs, which are not too bad, but not so good actually nowadays. And then the nodes have like 4 of them. And then we can use many of these nodes, yeah? So I would be happy to use 4,000 GPUs at the same time if I can get real time. And then we wanted to make a distributed architecture with bidirectional streaming, because we need to stream video into the data center and get graphics out. Yeah, use a control net to get consistency with the environment, maybe Kenny Edge or something to be quick. And yeah, and use some LoRa's for controlling the expressions. Many problems with that. I don't have time to list them all. Then we found LTX, and actually we realized this is very good, because this is a real-time capture from my screen of LTX running on an H100 with Torch Compile and all these bells and whistles. And you see it's really, really fast. And one good thing is it has temporal consistency built in. Because if you see what we did here, right, you see it's not consistent, right? There are always jumps in the videos, right? So, and that is what a video model wouldn't do. And then, so basically the demo we prepared, you can see something like this. So you can look around and you can prompt stuff and things will appear around you, and very rapidly. So this is also captured in real time from a head-mounted display, right? So you look in the environment and bam, 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 unicorns appear. And so what's our architecture, right? So we have a Tower PC, there's Unity and some tracking framework from Canon, which is the display we use. And then we need to go into the supercomputer, and it's very complicated because France likes security too much. So we need to jump through many hoops actually to even send something in and get something out. And there we have different models running, right? So an LLM is there, some VLLM to understand what's in the images, and LTX video. And now there's the problem, right? If you see here, we only want the unicorns, right? We don't want a complete video really generated, but only the unicorns. So how do we do that? Actually, a quick hack, basically that we generate the unicorns with a green background, right? So we do the prompt, and with clever prompting, you can get like a green screen effect, and then very rapidly you can segment it out and display the unicorn. Okay, and now what is next on our plate? So yeah, of course we need to make it even faster, actually a lot, and part of that is to parallelize things. And then what we think is that really what's needed is a dedicated model for AR, because LTX is almost very close to what we want, but there are some things missing in it. Also, I mean, the feedback that we got and so on is, okay, why are you using a 2D thing for what you do? Why don't you use a 3D model generator? And I think it's complementary. There are some things you better do in 3D, some things better in 2D. So I think should be together. And similarly, that currently we have separated, right? So we use one VLLM, one LLM, and one video model. I think this should be much tighter integrated. Okay, now conclusions. So yeah, so this is, I think, one of the most difficult projects I was involved in. So it's really technically very difficult. I think also it's very unique. If you see many things that happen in the AR space and AI space, I think this is very unique what we are doing. And also funny because my talk is called the AR and AI, the future of entertainment. I think I picked entertainment because the examples I showed kind of entertaining, but I think overall this can be used for anything, right? You could imagine for training, I think for everything, right? Like universal, that you wear glasses and you can change your environment how you like it. And yeah, there's also some ethical perspective, because also connected with the phones, right? People always stuck to their feeds, and they get into the feeds and it's curated by Elon Musk and people like this, right? So is this really what we want? Wouldn't it be much nicer if you can do it by yourself, right? That you can, that you're not stuck in the internet, but you know, more interact with your environment and change it in a way that you like it. And finally, yeah, we're always looking for collaborators, so please email us, talk to us, we're very interested. Okay, and now there is only one problem. Okay, first of all, the team credits also I forgot. So these are the people working on this demo. So the external engineers, so one did the networking, other acceleration frameworks. And then 3 PhD students who are also here. There's Johannes, who did many experiments with fine-tuning LTX. There's Francesco, our consigliere our expert for ComfyUI, and David, who's focusing on the augmented reality part of the demo. And now we have a problem because our demo just crashed massively, because normally we wanted to show it to you on stage, and it will take about 20 minutes to get it to run. So we're thinking during the cocktail hour, because we brought here some nice AR display, and we show you the demo during the cocktail hour. So now I can just show you a video of what you should have seen. Because you can see here, there are all these posters, right? And basically what you can do is you can look at them, and by looking at them, you can trigger image to video. Yeah? You can see step by step how all of the images are animated, and it's really very quick. So this is one thing you can see during the cocktail hour, hopefully. The other thing, let me skip ahead, because I want to show you the most important one. This is where I'm speaking, because it's animating me. No, okay, but you saw me already speaking. Yeah, and this is the other one, right? Where you basically can look around, and you can generate new objects around you. Like here, this kind of swarm of unicorns. And we have more. We not only have unicorns. Yeah, let's see here. Right, so basically you can see silhouettes, kind of a preview of things that will appear. But these are really all generated, yeah? So it's the moment you trigger a generation, it will be generated on Jonzay, and the video is sent back and displayed as a spatial video around you. All right, that was it. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Christian, for this amazing view into this Black Mirror kind of future. White mirror? It can be really cool. All right. I know. Hold on, everybody. Okay, now I spoiled a little bit, but I want to introduce you to someone who is extremely talented. And I've been actually thinking about her work and watching her work and looking at her work for a while. And I've been actually sitting in the last few days in the hotel room and thinking, how can I introduce her? How can I describe what she's doing before she's talking a little bit about whatever she wants to talk about? And I think why it was so difficult for me is that there's this sweet spot in art that is, when something is kind of haunting but beautiful and strong but elegant as well. I think very few people can actually hit that spot. So the more I thought about it, only two phrases, two descriptions really came into my mind that I wrote down, which the first one was disturbingly stunning, and the second one was addictively haunting, because I actually cannot stop watching your videos. It's true. And with that, I want to introduce you to Vika Betson.
Can you perhaps help me a little bit? Okay, set up and ready. Because to get the courage to speak to you in another language than my own, I needed some notes, and I need to handle the microphone as well. So, hi, I'm Vibeke. I am a visual artist from Denmark, and I also go by the name of UD art. You would say in English, but in Danish you would say udart, which actually is a word, and it means something that sort of evolves over time, sometimes in a not so positive way. And it's amazing to be here with all of you. I've actually been on banodoco quite a lot. I've just been mostly lurking and occasionally posting a video. So I'm really happy to be here, and I'm quite humbled by all the great work that I've seen so far. But I actually want to start many years ago and just say that back in school, my favorite subjects were art classes and computer science. And now finally with AI, I feel that these two interests can be combined in amazing ways. Just go to the next one. Yeah. I've been working with visual content as a part of my work for many years, but my work with AI actually began a little bit, at least in 2016, when you could do style transfer. And that was amazing. I was so impressed, all the possibilities that gave. And then this may be the same story as you heard before tonight, but I discovered disco diffusion, and that really opened up things for me. And then stable diffusion came out, and yeah, and I was hooked. So I do AI art for fun in my spare time, but it's not just a hobby. I also use these techniques sometimes in my professional work. I work with light design and visuals for concerts and theater productions mainly as a part of a team. And so AI is also one of the tools that we use. I wish we could use it a bit more, but that will come when we can sort of convince our clients of how amazing it is. But it's cool because I can use ideas from my art in my job and the other way around. So I have a sort of show reel of things that I've done, and just to explain, these are just short clips that have mainly been posted on social media. And I use both open source and closed source things in my work. I just out of respect for this community, I only chose the bits that were made with the open source model. And actually I think it's very important not to throw away old models if they still have some artistic potential. Sometimes the older tools have these quirks and things that can be explored in many, many ways. But also, I would say I am ready to move on, and I'm happy to be here and sort of dip my toes into the newer video models, because so far I've only used closed source online services for video models. And actually, just today, I tried the new OpenAI image generator, and I had this very, very difficult prompt that I wanted to test on the model, on the image generator, and it really worked. For the first time, I could get a picture of a giant woman in a room that is too small for her. But then I tried it again because I wanted to do it better, and then I got blocked by the community standards. And it was like, come on, you can only create happy images now? And that's like, okay, that's why we also, another reason why we need open source and local models that you can host yourself. But yeah, just to say, I'm not deliberately trying to create things that are creepy. Weird, maybe, but I'm also just trying to create things that maybe hasn't been seen before. Visual surprises in some way. So what you see is my recent work, and I've been really interested in things where I can transform the body or transform parts of the body. I've created some dances made entirely from fingers and hands, and I'm also making videos that zoom into sort of kaleidoscopic images of hands and faces. And also, it's kind of a joke about how AI models used to have a hard time creating proper hands. So I joke that I create the best AI hands. And probably what happens is that from working with images for so many years, I may have become a little bit desensitized. So I've become a little bit immune to when things maybe go into creepy territory. Yeah, because people have told me that it's kind of creepy. So I actually try to strike a balance somewhere. What really excites me is to create things that wouldn't be possible without AI, because I'm not interested in imitating reality. I'm trying to sort of get a glimpse into, as somebody said, this vast latent space of possibilities that is different from everyday life. And I think, and it has been done already, AI is changing art and culture. And I think it's so amazing that we have these tools that I am sure will be used for major blockbuster movies soon. And we also have these very weird art experiments. And I'm thinking we're just getting started. I bet we'll see new kinds of art that we cannot even imagine by now. So the body is a big theme in my work. I'm really drawn to this notion of fluid identities and transformations of the body. And it just, maybe it's a weird thought, but I was just thinking, the AI doesn't know what it's like to have a body. And that's kind of weird. The AI doesn't know anything, of course. It doesn't have consciousness, we suppose. But it also doesn't know what it feels like to have fingers or hands or anything. So it's kind of interesting to sort of have a machine, an outsider's perspective on what it feels like or what it looks like to have a body. Yeah, so wrapping up, I'll say that I'm really inspired by the great artists that are working in this space. There's so many things happening. But I'm also inspired by older artists, surrealists and Dadaists, and I see connections between what has been done in the past and what is happening now with AI art. So just to round it up, what am I going to do from now? I think I am working on creating some more sort of meaningful, longer pieces. I'm working on a short film that will be a little bit more philosophical. And also I want to keep experimenting with my style. And yeah, I feel that there are so many possibilities. Also, I'd like to collaborate with other artists. I think cool things could happen. But most of all, I just want to have fun with all these amazing tools. Because the moment it stops being playful, that's the moment it sort of loses its magic. So I don't think that will happen. Yeah, that was it. I hope you enjoyed getting a little glimpse into my work, and hope to get to talk to some of you and see you tomorrow at the hackathon as well. Yeah.
Thank you so much. All right. Now we have our last presenter. And I think you should be really, really, really excited, because I think all of you would agree that one of the biggest up-and-coming AI situations, AI art situations is the fusion of video and music, and the future of video and music, and how we can combine this. And I think one of the biggest up-and-coming young people is this young gentleman, Ivan Barau. I will give over.
Hello everyone, really happy to be there. So just to say, I'm French, so if some words are not perfect, it's a game. So let's go. So I have a mic and a mouse, so I'm gonna try to do the two. So what I want to show you today is basically how music artists and people that love music can integrate all this AI stuff and ecosystem that people are showing us and developing every day. And for that, we can develop Node in ConfyUI, like maybe a lot of you know. And the idea is that if you extract the music, you can have it in a numerical way and just inject it directly in the different parts of the AI process. So it can be control net or for the IP adapter. And so I'm gonna show you in live what can it be to play with that. So I have on my screen right here FL Studio. So I'm not gonna make a whole bit because I'm not a producer, but just to show the pipeline. So for example, I've made a quick bit before coming, just some really basic stuff, just to show quickly what it's done. So you can just you can just you can hear that, yeah, it's quite loud. Whoa. That is just simple kick to show the transition. So if I'm a music producer and I want to do visual for my style, whoa, nice. I'm gonna export my songs and I can play with that. So you can see that I've already one that I've tested. So I have this one. Is it my a simple song in MP3? And now what I want to do is go to ConfyUI, like a lot of you know, and use some node that I've made and some people are developing and stuff, and plug it into a simple workflow of prompt travel. So basically just text to video, like we have seen with LTXV and a lot of other models. And what it's gonna do different is that it's gonna take the music as input. So we can have it run right here. So if I launch a workflow, so I'm just gonna open that and run. I'm gonna load the music. So this is kind of my node, and all the others are from the community and the great work. We can listen to the song. It's just the drum extracted from the input. So you can see just regular kick. You can see the graph that shows what it does. And basically, once we have that, so it's basic audio processing, we can use it to guide the model during the generation of the video. And so for this process, I kind of use old technology, but a lot of us like it. I use AnimateDiff v2, so it's kind of an old model now, but it's worked great for my case. And the idea is that we have prompt, for example, we have shape and flowers. I can type what you want, actually, after I can just put something else if you want. And the idea is that if we have two prompts and the information of the audio, we can just do transition between them and use them for generating the stuff. So we can see the preview that is generating here. So with a simple 1.5 model and AnimateDiff. And so with all this information from the music, I can plug all the info on the, for example, AnimateDiff, and say, for example, in AnimateDiff, you can vary, change the motion scale. So say, for the first frame, you want a little motion, and for the next, you want big motion. And so you can do it based on the audio, thanks to all this kind of node. And so you can see that we have the same information from the drums map for AnimateDiff that is injected directly in the model. And we're gonna have the generation. I'm gonna show you quickly because it's kind of quick. So it's really quick result, we can really explore the thing, but basically you can see that it reacts based on the kick. And so each time there are a kick, we're gonna inject more motion into the AnimateDiff model. We're gonna change the prompt when the kick hits. So for example, here we can see what the node have made for transforming the music into position in the generation, step. So this is the frame where the prompt should occur. And you can see in the generation image that it follow kind of the kick, and when the kick go out, it change image, and it change, and you have a lot of abstract possibility for that, because it's cool to do transition with really controlled stuff like vid to vid or image to vid, But the thing is that with this kind of motion module, you can really explore like motion in a large way, like not trying to make realistic stuff or making things like perfect, but you can just like travel on the latent space and just like inject motion here and here and here, and just be like, it's the music that guides the stuff, and it's one that I find really interesting. So yeah, so this one is for like just text to video based on audio activity. But what is cool is that you can, once you have like the node that injects the different information into the different module, like IP adapter, control net, animate diff, you can just like do it for other other process. Like for example, this one is a image to vid audio reactive workflow, where we can just like have some input image and say like, okay, for like my show, I want to have transition between different assets and visual that I have in my universe. And so you can just be like, okay, so I have 4 images, I have different kick. It could be like more complex music, but for the demo, I take simple stuff. And so you can just like be like, okay, we're gonna like do transition between the different images. And for that, like you just have to have the info injected into the model. So for this one, it's really simple. Like you have the data, and you just like say to, for example, IP adapter, okay, I want to see this image here, but when the like a kick appears, I want you to like change image. So for that, you're gonna modify the weight and adapt, and you're gonna like do well, it's maybe too much technical, but like it's funny to use, and you could do it for a lot of stuff. And so what I find great is that we often have like specialized stuff, like you do audio or you do image or video. But what is cool with all the things that people talk like in this awesome event, like the fact that we can have things to plug to other model and like grow up with that, is that once you can plug, you can do what you want. And for example, we have other things to show. This is our GitHub, actually where we have the node. And you can have different examples, like up, like this one. Don't play really well. Understand? Okay, so GitHub is bad. We still like it, but okay. Well, you can find it on GitHub if you want to see. But basically, they're gonna be like vid to vid example. Maybe I can have it on CVTI. We're gonna look. No, mine is filter. Like I don't have this kind of stuff. But yeah, it's kind of a trap. I like to take risk. So for example, yeah, this is the one. So CVTI works for video, at least. So yeah, you can see this kind of transition. So this is a workflow with image to video. You have I have different images as input, and I just like do the transition between them. And it can be like a simple process for video editor. But the thing is that because this module knows some kind of motion, you can just like inject it, and you have like transition that no one can kind of understand in a human way and do it like that and in a controlled way. So like CVTI tagged my video as nude, so okay. Wasn't aware of that. I think I have other one. This was from like my friend that helped me on this side, so there are different styles which play with that. And so yeah, this is the idea. And what we can do, if you want, if you have some idea, like just quickly because the workflow can run fast. If you want to see something else, like we can just generate it. So if someone have an idea, like just replacing the flower that I have on my prompt with something that you want to see, like just share it, maybe someone. If you have a simple thing that you want to see on an audio reactive video, we can generate it right now. So fingers, oh no, that's such. Nobody wants like a cat or a dog. What? Hot dog cat? I don't know what that is. Okay, we're gonna try human fingers. Yeah, I just like. Amazing. Okay, thanks a lot. So I'm gonna just put beautiful finger here. We have a lot of beautiful finger. We're gonna, like, of course, remove the flowers because it's too boring. And I guess let's go. I hope it's gonna work. Otherwise, you're right. I think it's still gonna work, but yeah, I guess so. Yeah, and so, like, what's interesting also, I'm just gonna check on GitHub, maybe. Okay, no. What? Yeah, you're right. It works. Okay, so basically some user, like for example Neb, that maybe a lot of you know, that's like been a huge AI artist in the like Friends game, and he like generates some stuff. And you can really like do it with all the style and just play fun. And all of that is part on Animate GIF. The goal is to like go with video model, like LTXV and then this kind of stuff. But yeah, for the moment we need more like maybe way to plug, I guess, in the video model. But it's gonna happen and it's gonna be awesome for music. You have other one from ID Graphic. It's kind of funny also. There are a lot of things. You can have video to video. So Lilian is my friend that helped me develop this Pacomno, so thanks to him. And so this is video to video, for example. So this is his hands. Yeah, so it just merged between the two. And I guess the video gonna be finished. Yeah, okay, it's right there. Oh, we see like, yeah, there are 3 fingers. Only 3. Okay, we're gonna see. Let's go, Confi, let's go. Okay, yeah, so if the style is like that, like the same as before, it's because I use Alora for have this kind of glitch stuff. But if you remove it, it's gonna be way more ugly. So like, I won't take the risk. But yeah, thanks. Thanks a lot. So that's it for me. I think I'll make it quick, like maybe. And yeah, so yeah, you can just go to ConfiWay if you like and just try that. And there's also Ryan on the inside that is here. I don't know where. That do a lot right here on the top. That make also a lot of great custom nodes for audio activity, but like more technical stuff from what I've seen. Like you can do a lot of stuff. And so yeah, just we can push the community. There are a lot of people making custom node. Audio is one way that I think is not really explored, but we can do a lot of things and really quickly. So yeah, I guess it's gonna like continue to grow, and maybe with video model push that even more. And so yeah, thanks for having me.
Thank you so much, Ivan. All right, let's leave it like this, whatever. That was our last presenter. Before I leave you to feast and drink, I want to remind you that some of you I will see tomorrow at the hackathon. It will start at 10:30. And some of you might join for the hackathon and you really hackathon away. Some of you might just like come around and just hang out and just, you know, not even like participate directly in the hackathon, but just maybe you just want to, you know, create some AI stuff with, you know, like all of these lovely, beautiful people. Or maybe you want to do neither of those things, but you still want to hang out here in this beautiful venue in beautiful Paris with all of these geniuses and just want to drink beer and pizza because that's what I will do. And it's a pretty good deal. And to all of these people out in the world who watch this through live stream, who are currently not in Paris, but will be in Paris and are this interested in AI art, that they actually like watching me and hearing me talk right now, and you shall be in Paris at some point in the future, and you will not come to check out this incredible venue, which is called Artifacts Lab in Paris, then I don't know what to tell you. Just need to get your priorities straight. I don't know. All right. Afterwards, once we leave, some of you can, as Christian said, check out the VR. We also have a LTXV playground booth outside, which you can check out, which will also be there tomorrow during the hackathon. which I can highly recommend. I also want to thank very, very, very much Hugging Face and Google and FAL, and I am unnoticeably walking through my notes in case I have forgot something. They're not in order, it doesn't matter. Thank you so much everyone for coming. And have a good night. Bonsoir.